very pleasant welcome to all my dear 6th standard children. Today we are going to see the next chapter from your biology. So what is your next chapter? Yes. So your next chapter is about circulatory system, right. So we all know that all living things show some similarities in their functions, in their activities, right. So all the living things respire, all the living things eat food, all the living things digest the food, right. So all these functions have the similarities, they have the similarities for even the human beings as well as for the animals, right, as well as for the plants also, right. And this digested food and also the oxygenated the oxygen has to be given to it has to be supplied to all the part in our body, right. So today we are going to see the circulatory system in humans, right. So what is the function of the circulatory system? The circulatory system helps in transporting the wanted materials, that is required materials, through a medium called blood, right. So whatever the food that has been digested, whatever the nutrients that has been absorbed into your blood, as well as in your respiration, you can see the oxygen that is absorbed, the oxygen that is diffused into the blood, right. So now the blood has oxygen as well as nutrients. So this oxygen and nutrients has to be taken down to all the parts in our body, right. So each and every part of our body, maybe your feet or maybe your fingers. So all these cells that is present in these parts need oxygen as well as nutrients. Now how this nutrients and oxygen goes in that particular place? Because of a medium called blood, right. So how does blood transport, how the blood is transported into your all the parts of our body with the help of a system called circulatory system. So in the circulatory system we have a special organ that is present in our chest region, which is known as heart. The heart pumps the blood and thereby from the heart many blood vessels arises. We can see many blood vessels that is connected to the heart, and through the blood vessels the heart pumps out the blood to all the parts of the body, and this blood again from all the parts of the body is collected into your heart, thereby to oxygenate into your lungs, right. So this is what the function of the circulatory system. So what is the function of the circulatory system? The circulatory system helps in transporting food and oxygen to all the parts of our body, and also with the help of the circulatory system helps in preventing the it helps in clotting of blood. So thereby it prevents more loss of blood, right. And also the circulatory system helps in maintaining the body temperature, and we can see many hormones are produced in our body, and these hormones are also transported to all the parts or all the organs in our body, right. So these are the major functions of circulatory system. So now what are the organs that involve in the circulatory system? So the first one is heart. So heart is an organ where it pumps out the blood through through blood vessels and blood. So the blood carries the nutrients and the oxygen to all the parts of our body. So these are all the organs that involve, these are all the parts that are involved in the circulatory system. First we will see what is heart. So heart is we can say a conical shape which is present in our chest cavity, right. So in the center of our chest region, slightly tilted to the left side, we can see the heart is present, right. So this heart is protected by the rib cage in our chest region, and it is about nearly we can see the size of the heart. The size of the heart will be like a clenched fist. So, how you clench your fist? So, this size will be your heart, right? And you can see the heart is pumping, right? So, it contracts and relaxes, right? So, now let us see, we can see this is the external structure of the heart. So, the heart is covered by a cover called pericardium, right? And inside the pericardium we can see, between the heart and the pericardium cover we can see a space called space. In that space we can see a fluid that is present, which is known as pericardial fluid. So, this pericardial fluid prevents the heart from the shock, right? So, now let us see the internal structure of the heart. So, inside the heart is divided into 4 chambers, right. So, how we have a double story house. So, this is the ground floor or this is the first floor. So, in the ground floor we have 2 chambers, that is 2 rooms is available, and in the above this we have again 2 chambers are present. So, this is the internal structure of the heart. So, on the top we can see the atrium, and on the down we can see the ventricles, right. So, next we will see the internal structure, exactly what it actually. So, when we cross section and see the heart, so the heart comprises of 4 chambers. So, in the right it has a right atrium, left atrium, and we can see in the top, in the down we can see the right ventricle and left ventricle. So, these 2 atriums are separated by a septum which is known as auricular septum, and these 2 ventricles are it is different, we can see some gap. So, these 2 ventricles are separated by a septum known as ventricular septum, right. Okay. Now, let us see how the blood, what is exactly the function of the heart. So, from all the parts of the body, the deoxygenated blood is collected through the veins. So, through the veins the deoxygenated blood is collected, and through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So, in the right atrium we have a 2 things which is known as superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The superior vena cava collects all the deoxygenated blood from the top of our body, and the inferior vena cava collects the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of our body, and this deoxygenated blood is poured into the right atrium, and from the right atrium, when the right atrium contracts, the blood is sent to the right ventricle. So, through a valve which is known as tricuspid valve. So, through that the blood enters into the right ventricle, and when the right ventricle contracts, the deoxygenated blood is pumped out through a blood vessel which is known as pulmonary artery. So, through the pulmonary artery the deoxygenated blood is sent to the lungs. So, pulmonary refers to lungs. So, this deoxygenated blood is taken through the pulmonary artery to the lungs to add the oxygen, and in the lungs the blood is added with the oxygen. The blood is oxygenated, and this oxygenated blood is taken from the lungs to the heart by the pulmonary vein. So, with the help of pulmonary vein, the deoxygenated blood is collected from the lungs, and the pulmonary vein pour the blood into the left atrium, and when this left atrium contracts and this blood is poured into the left ventricle. So, through this valves. So, here there will be a valve which is known as mitral valve, or we can say bicuspid valve, right. So, then once the blood is filled with the, once the left ventricle is filled with the blood, so the left ventricle contracts. When it contracts, the blood from the left ventricle enters through a blood vessel which is known as aorta. So, through the aorta, the oxygenated blood is sent to all the parts of our body, right. So, this is what the function of the heart. So, as I said, the heart is covered with a covering which is known as pericardium. In between the heart and pericardium, you can see a space. So, this is filled by a fluid called pericardial fluid, and this pericardial fluid protects the heart from the shock, right. And there are 4 chambers. So, the deoxygenated blood from all the parts of the body is collected through the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava into the right atrium, and the blood enters into the right ventricle through the valves, and from the right ventricle the deoxygenated blood is pumped through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, and in the lungs the blood is oxygenated, and this oxygenated blood is collected from the lungs to the heart through the pulmonary vein, and the oxygenated blood is sent into the left atrium, and when the left atrium contracts, the oxygenated blood is sent through the valves into the left ventricle, and when left ventricle contracts, the left ventricle will pass the blood, oxygenated blood through the blood vessel which is known as aorta. So, aorta is the largest vessel that is present in our, largest blood vessel that is present in our body. So, through the aorta, the oxygenated blood is sent to all the parts of the body. So, thereby the blood carries the nutrients and the oxygen to all the parts of the body, all the cells in our body, right. So, this is the function of the heart, right. So, in this we learned, what are all the things that we learned? The first one we learned, so there are 4 chambers. So, which is the top chambers are known as atrium, and the bottom chambers are known as ventricles. So, this right side is known as right atrium, left side is known as left atrium, right ventricle is known as right ventricle, left side is known as left ventricle, right. And all the deoxygenated blood is carried into the heart through the superior and inferior vena cava. Superior and inferior vena cava, right. So, then the deoxygenated blood is sent to the lungs by the pulmonary artery. And from the lungs, the oxygenated blood is collected from the lungs and it is sent into the heart through the pulmonary vein. And once the right ventricle is filled with the blood, when the right ventricle when the left ventricle contracts, the oxygenated blood is sent to all the parts of the body through a blood vessel known as aorta, right. So, these are the things that you should keep in mind when you draw the structure of the heart. Now, so this is the stethoscope. So, with the help of the stethoscope, the doctor will detect the heartbeat. So, the stethoscope helps you to detect the heartbeat. So, nearly in a minute a person heartbeat will be 72 times per minute. And what is the weight of the heart? So, the weight of the heart is nearly 225 to 340 grams. And how much of blood volume is pumped out by the heart in a day? So, in a day the heart receives 16,360 liters of blood. in a day, right? And in our body, how much of blood we have? We have nearly 5.5 liters of blood. Is present in our body, right? So this is about the heart. So hope in this class you have learnt about the structure of the heart and what is the function of the circulatory system. So go through the lesson, go through the video. For further information, in the below description I have attached the study material question bank and self assessment. Take the study material and copy in your biology note and read from your biology note and do the self assessment. Once you do the self assessment, you will come to know how much you have understood about the circulatory system. So hope you enjoy the session. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.